vegetation within the local government area in conjunction with another bunch of organisations, so local land service, other government organisations. And our primary objective would be just to maintain habitat. So obviously at this site here we've got a threatened species. So our target here is to preserve that species and enhance that habitat. And we do that by managing the weeds primarily, weeds of national significance, noxious weeds. And at this site you can see that we have a lot of hawthorn. There's been other threats such as broom, rubbish, and also being close proximity to urban habitat is another problem. So we manage it a number of different ways. This woodland is quite significant because of the species that we do have here. We have the, as I spoke about earlier, the Bossaria, which is a habitat for the purple copper butterfly. So this is a threatened species and it's very endemic to this area. So it's important for us to look at managing the weeds within this area and ensuring we're strengthening the habitat here. So ultimately what we're doing is using the Bradley method in terms of working from the area of the strongest habitat, the least infested by weeds, and then working out. We're using contractors to come in and do that finer work closer to the threatened species. And then as we work out to where the more infestated areas are closer to disturbance on residents or close to the roads here, we get the Green Army teams in, we get them to really do that work on the perimeter and then work back in. Course of action for a situation like this is really a slow process. We could go in there quite intensively and mulch it all down, come back and wait for some regrowth and then do some chemical application. That is quite intensive in terms of machinery, but the results can be quite good. With this situation, using the Green Army guys, we're going to probably go in there bit by bit. So they'll go in, cut out the stems, paint the stems, drag out the stems, and that can go into just as into matting into the ground there to break down. If we get too much of it, we'll just take that up and chip it or tip it. But it is a slow process to work through a wall of weeds like that. It's going to be hard work. The guys have to get in there and go through piece by piece.
So today we'll be working in the purple copper butterfly habitat. So we've got the Lithgow team here, Lithgow team 1, all raring to go. And we've just finished our toolbox check, just identifying all the hazards and doing our take 5. So everyone knows what we're up to here. Removing some weeds, hawthorn and broom, and using appropriate chemical techniques such as cut and paint to appropriately remove them. So they're getting the chemicals, specifically Roundup, that we'll use to poison the weeds out of the trailer. We secure our poisons inside the trailer so that during any travelling they aren't splashing around or hitting or breaking and causing a massive spill. We wouldn't want Roundup to be getting into the environment and causing negative impacts on both flora and fauna. So large rubber gloves are used to protect the skin. Long sleeves are down to ensure that any splash or residue doesn't meet the skin. The preparation and mixing of the chemicals is completed on a level, flat ground that is covered by dirt, so we don't impact any of the vegetation that's growing. Next to us we've got a bucket full of water just in case that we need it, and a rag to clean any equipment for the mixing. Next we'll put a dye in it. A blue or red dye is added to the applicator bottle to ensure that we know exactly where we've applied the Roundup to the weed species. Per 1 litre, only 6 mils needs to be added. Ensuring that all bottles are clean is a requirement and is necessary to make sure that we maintain a safe workplace. At all times, while handling chemicals, participants have all PPE clothing on. So they have steel-capped boots that are waterproof to ensure that their feet don't get wet or chemicals don't leach in. They've got long pants long high-vis shirt, a hat to protect them from the sun, and safety glasses to protect them from any splash chemicals or UV radiation. So now the chemical has been placed in the 1 litre applicator bottle. We'll now put them in individual applicator bottles that we can put in holsters on our tool belts to go out into the field and apply that to the weeds. For paint and cut, we use a 100% Roundup mixture, which is 365 mils per litre of glyphosate. The reason we use this is because we're directly applying it to the plant. So if you were to spray, you'd be diluting it with water. However, we're not. We're applying it straight to the stem once it's cut. So here we have Anthony tending to a hawthorn weed, a very spiky species. He's going to use secateurs due to the size of the plant. It's quite young. So secateurs are the best method of getting low as possible to cut it, and then we'll paint it. We have Roxy. She's using an applicator bottle. She's going to apply the poison, which is glyphosate, right to the cut of the plant. She has 20 seconds to put it on there so that the chemical is drawn back into the plant and is distributed throughout the root system. Another method of controlling woody weeds is to use a drill injection into the stem or trunk of the tree. Here we have Anthony clearing the bottom branches so the tree is more accessible to Healy, who is on the drill. Healy drills 10 mil into the tree and then redirects his direction and drills an additional 2 inches into the tree and applies the Roundup glyphosate. By drilling down into the tree 2 inches, you can deliver quite a large amount of herbicide into the tree. Then you're not required to remove branches or cut the tree down. The residual branches and trunks that were cut off can be spread throughout the environment to break down and add organic material into the soil. The structure of the woody weed, once it dies, is also great habitat for insects and endangered species like the purple copper butterfly.
As Damon and Thomas said, we're in a significant piece of urban or peri-urban bushland, a eucalypt forest in the Blue Mountains. It's regenerating, it's been cleared, it's been subject to all sorts of logging, mining, exploration, clearing. So it is a bushland under threat. There are a lot of feral species, feral animals in here, but it's probably about as good as it gets. It's a hybrid system. It's a mix of eucalypts, boxthorn and blackberries. We've just seen the best practice way of removing these plants. The argument for not removing them is that if a fire comes from the west, and we've got catastrophic fires, and Lithgow was almost burnt out a few years ago, these water-rich leaves are actually a fire suppressant. So this could be a last defence against a catastrophic bushfire. So this may be one reason for not removing strips such as the thick vegetation. There may be a case for taking the small ones out and a case for leaving the big ones in for fire suppressant. These plants also have an important soil building value. These are deciduous trees. They really have a positive effect on the pH. That helps set the stage for native plants. If we have emerging eucalypts like these, they can also suppress these plants by outcompeting them for water, nutrients and sunlight. So there is a way of reducing these European plants by using the natural bushland. The other thing is there are native birds nesting in these, and this is also habitat. A lot of parrots have built up larger numbers because the parrots are actually eating the berries on these bushes, on these weeds. So there's a few more things to consider. It's not as simple as just taking them out of the landscape. We have to consider fire, habitat or neo-habitat, and soil conditioning. So these things have to be considered in the context of safe and best practice removal.